Hello, I'm Mr. Malden, and this is the Math Toolbox where I teach you how to become a middle school math master. Today, our objective is to complete all the different operations with decimals, so add, subtract, multiply, and divide numbers with decimals. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and get right into this. And start with talking about adding decimals. All right, so what I'm going to do just for the structure of this is I'm going to give you kind of the instruction, the rules, and then I'm going to give you an example. When I get to the examples, it's a good idea to pause on the examples and then try to do it yourself, and then you can come back and see what the right answers are. So I'll give you that chance to pause every time, but whenever you see the examples, even these first ones, if you'd like to, you're more than welcome to go ahead and pause it and complete it on out before I show you how to do it. All right, with adding decimals, it's super simple. It's not that difficult. Like you have this example right here in the screen, 4.6 plus 3.39. You want to write down the two numbers right on top of each other like this by lining up the decimal, all right? So the rules for adding and subtracting decimals are going to be different than multiplying and dividing. With adding and subtracting, they have the same first step, that you line up the numbers by the decimal, all right? And then in any empty space, you're just going to put a 0, all right? So in an empty space goes an empty number, and that empty number is 0. And then you can just simply add down. You've got, you're going to first carry down your decimal, and then you're going to simply add down from there, all right? So you've got 0 plus 9 is 9, 6 plus 3 is 9, 4 plus 3 is 7. So you've got 7.99 as an answer right here. So again, the addition's not, any more difficult than, second grade addition. It's just you're lining up the decimals first, filling in the empty spaces with the 0, carrying down the decimal to your answer, and then just adding up the numbers and putting them under, in their correct place value. All right, you try this one. So you can pause this right now and you can go ahead and try it. And I'm going to give the explanation here just shortly. Okay. So again, we've lined up the 2.3 and the 4.18 by the decimal. All right, we can fill in the empty space with the 0. And then we can go ahead and carry down that decimal and add up the numbers. All right, just all the way across. So the answer to 2.3 plus 4.18 is 6.48. Now let's just kind of switch this up for a second, and let's pretend this said 2.3 plus negative 4.18. All right. So we also want to include positives and negatives in this lesson because that's what makes it a 7th grade concept. All right. So if you're in 6th grade, you're probably just going to be doing adding two positive numbers with decimals. Once you get to 7th grade, we just add the the decimal, the negatives and positives into the same problem, which really it's not too confusing. Okay, shouldn't be, because you can use a tool like the tug line. All right, I like to use this tool. If you have not seen this tool before, then you might go to my YouTube channel. All right, which here's my YouTube studio right there. You can go over here to add and subtract integers, this video right here. You want to click on that one. And I talk about how to use the tug line inside of that. But essentially what the tug line does is it's just going to give you a recognition of the team that each number is on. If it's a positive number, it's on team positive. If it's a negative number, it's on team negative. And it's just giving you a visual that should jog your memory, that if you've got numbers on different teams like this, you're not going to add those, you're going to subtract those, all right? So when you're adding numbers that have different signs, this one has positive, this one has negative, all right? When you have numbers that have different signs, you really subtract them, and then you're going to keep the sign of the larger number. So in this case, we're going to have to subtract these numbers, all right, and then keep the sign of the larger number. So our answer in the very end would be negative in this case. Now let's skip this for a second, and let's go to learning the rules about about subtracting decimals, all right? Just like adding, you want to line up the numbers just like this, all right, by the decimals, all right? So you're going to line up the decimals and then the numbers accordingly. And then in any empty space, you want to put, again, an empty number. So you've got this 4.60 minus 3.39, all right? then you can go ahead and you can complete the subtraction like normal. So in this case, we're going to have to borrow from the next number to be able to complete it. We're going to carry our decimal down because we're ready to do the subtraction, and we can just go ahead and do the subtraction. We've got 10 minus 9 is 1, 5 minus 3 is 2, 4 minus 3 is 1. All right, so again, important rule is to line up the decimal, fill in any spaces, any empty spaces with 0, all right, and then do the subtraction. So you try this one. Go ahead and pause this video and try this one, and then come back to get the answer. All right, so we've got 5.35 minus 2.4. We're going to go ahead and supply the 0 inside the empty space. We can carry down that decimal so that we know where the decimal place is going to be. And then we can just go ahead and do the subtraction. Now I did 5 minus 0 is 5. I stopped right here because this 3, we're going to have to borrow from that 5. So we make that 3 a 13, that 5 a 4. So 13 minus 4 is 9, and 4 minus 2 is 2. So our final answer is 2.95. All right. All right, let's just do one little variation on this one. All right. And let's take it 5.35 minus negative 2.4, all right? Again, the rules for adding and subtracting integers, that video is going to help you know this process, all right? The process we want to apply to this, because we see subtraction and negatives present in the same problem, it doesn't matter if this were negative or the 5.35 were negative. Because I see subtraction with negatives inside the same problem, then I want to apply this process. Keep, change, opposite. And I don't have to write the KCO up there. I'm just going to remember that I'm going to apply keep, change, opposite in order to turn this to an addition problem. All right? Because subtraction of negatives, it really messes with our brain. Our brain still sees 5.35 minus 2.4, but the reality is that negative has changed things, and you've got a double negative here, which is ultimately going to become a positive. So we're going to apply this keep, so we keep the first number in front of the subtraction sign, all right, the same. Then we're going to take that subtraction sign, we're going to change it to addition, but we're not going to stop there. If you stop there, you've changed the problem, and you can't do that. The math rules tell us we can't do that, all right? We have to be fair to this. So we've got to go to the next number and make it its opposite, all right? So the opposite of negative 2.4 is positive 2.4, all right? And in this case now, we would have just an addition of the numbers, all right? Because we have two positive numbers that are being added together, and so we would add those together just like that, all right? So if that were negative, we would have applied keep, change, opposite to turn it positive, all right, to turn this problem to an addition, and then we would go on from there. All right, let's move on to multiplication of decimals, all right? With multiplying decimals, you're going to do everything. Sorry about the video here. My video is kind of like right up there, so let's try it this way, all right? We've got 1.99 times 3.8, all right? With multiplication of decimals, you don't have to worry about the decimals at the beginning. So you don't have to line them up like you have to do with addition and subtraction, all right? All you're going to do is multiply the numbers like normal. Pretend like there's not even a decimal in the problem, and just multiply the numbers, all right? So you've got, in this case right here, 8 times 199, or 199, is going to be 1,592. Then we put a 0 in the first place value so that we carry over to the second place value because we're into the second number to multiply by. And then 3 times 199 is 597, all right? So you've got that, all right? So we did the multiplication, and we finally added it up at the end. We've got 7562, right? Then, now is where you're going to come and worry about the decimal. So first step, perform the multiplication as if there were no decimals. Second step, count how many numbers inside the factors, all right, are behind the decimal. So the factors are the two numbers that you originally multiplied, right? And I like to circle them, all right? At least when I'm first starting out multiplying decimals, because this gives me the opportunity to kind of just really focus on what I'm doing. So I circle them like this, and I count them. 1, 2, 3. There's 3 numbers behind the decimals inside the factors. So I'm going to go down here, starting at the very right, I'm going to move the decimal that number of spaces over, 3 spaces over. There's 3 numbers behind the decimals up here, so I'm moving the decimal 3 spaces over inside my, my product, my answer. All right, so my final answer here is 7.562. All right, you try, and right here, because it was, you know, sometimes you're gonna have to round to the nearest hundredth, especially when you're dealing with money. All right, so it would just round to the nearest hundredth like that. So 2 doesn't affect that 6, it just stays the same. All right, you try this one, 5.53 times 100. It's kind of an easy one to go through. But anyways, pause the video, try it yourself, and then come back to get the answer. All right, I'm assuming you've paused. You come back now to get the answer, right? So we've got 0 times 3 is going to be 0. That next 0 times 553 is going to be 0. The next 0 is going to be the same thing. We're all the way down to the last column down here, the last row. We're into the 3rd space in, so we're going to start our answer the 3rd space in over here. So we've got to put 2 zeros in the first 2 place values just like that. And then we got 1 times 3 is 3, 1 times 5 is 5, 1 times 5 is 5. We've done all the multiplication. We're going to add down, right? And we've got right now 55,300. But we're going to recognize we've got some numbers behind the decimals up here in the factor. So we're going to count how many numbers, all right? I like to circle them, all right? And then there's 2 of them, so I'm going to move the decimal in 2 places just like that to make 553, all right? When you have 553.00, you're just going to understand these are nothings right here. We can add as many zeros after the decimals as we want to, but they're unnecessary, all right? So your final answer is 553. Now let's pretend, all right, that one of these was negative. You had 5.53, and we're going to say multiply it by negative 100, all right? Again, you multiply the numbers like normal, all right, and then you would come up with your answer, okay? So in this case, it was 553, and then you're going to use this tool still, right? So if you don't remember that tool, you can go back to the the video I did on multiplying and dividing integers. So it's going to be this video right here, the multiplication and division of integers, all right? You can go back and watch that, and I teach you how to use this positive, negative, negative triangle, right? Where we see that we're multiplying a positive times a negative, so we can hide here, we can hide this positive, we're multiplying positive times this negative. I'm going to hide that one right there, and what I have left over is 1 negative, so this answer is going to be negative. This tool tells us the rules for multiplication of numbers negative with positives, that a negative times a positive is a negative times a negative is a positive times a negative is a negative, so on and so forth, all right? But that's how you use that tool. And if you don't know how to use that tool, I'll give a better description of it in that other video, multiplication and division of integers, all right? So if this one were negative, the final answer would have been negative because we had a negative times a positive there, all right? All right, last one, we've got division of decimals, okay? We've got a problem right over here. 8.32 divided by 1.3, all right? Whenever it's written in standard notation like this, we're going to take that first number and put it on the inside of the bracket, all right? And then we're going to take the second number and we're going to put it on the outside just like that, all right? And I'm going to put it here so that you can kind of see what's going on with the decimal here in just a second. So you'll notice that I replaced the decimal with this dog and this cat on the inside. The reason for that is, you know, a lot of teachers like to teach this method just to help you kind of, because students traditionally struggle with this concept of moving a decimal. So there's a cool little story about a little kitty cat who's afraid of a dog, and the dog scoots close, you know, comes and barks, you know, at the door. So he scoots closer to the door just like this, all right? So he had to scoot 1 step to get to the door. Well, that kitty cat's afraid of that dog, so that kitty cat's going to move the same number of spaces along the floor And then she's going to jump and go to the top of the house, just like that. So if I were writing this, it would have looked like this, all right? 1.3, and I had 8.32 on the inside, right? The dog moved one step closer to the door, so the kitty cat's going to scoot one step along the floor and then up to the top of the house, all right? And that just moves the decimal, so now that your outside divisor is a whole number, all right? So the number without decimals. And then you can go ahead and complete all the rest of the division here, just like that. You can get all the numbers in their right places, but by moving the decimal, you get the correct place value, all right? I do have a song about this if you want to hear it, which, I don't know what your response is, but I'm going to go ahead and sing it anyways. All right, so maybe you'll recognize the tune. Now this is a story all about how Kitty Cat got stuck on top of the house. I'd like to take a minute, just sit real tall. I'll tell you all about a tale for dividing decimals. Kitty Cat was scared of the dog next door because the dog could split two cats into four. Every day, Kitty Cat would chase a little mouse till the dog would bark outside of the house. For every step the dog took closer to the door, Kitty Cat would scoot all along the floor. And then one day, Kitty Cat got spooked and she jumped out the window and onto the roof. All right. So just a little catchy tune from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air opening credit or opening song. But you can go back and rewind that if you want to. If you struggle with this, maybe that little song, maybe that little tune, maybe this little story will help you put the decimals in the right place so that you can get those answers right. All right, why don't you try this one? So again, we're going to try this one at home. You can pause. The problem is down here, 553 divided by 27.65. So we're going to take that 553, put it on the inside, 27.65 on the outside. I've replaced the decimals with a dog and cat. Obviously, you don't have to draw a dog and cat like that, but you're going to think about how many steps you're moving along the floor and how many steps Kitty Cat's got to move and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully you've paused this and you've already tried it yourself. Let me go ahead and tell you what the answer is, right? We're going to have the dog move 2 steps along the floor. So Kitty Cat is going to move 2 steps along the floor and go up to the top of the house. And in those empty spaces, we're going to put zeros just like this. All right, we're not just going to leave them empty. We're going to put an empty number inside them that's 0. All right. Then you can just do the division. 2,765 does not go into 5. All right, so we're going to go to the next number in. It doesn't go into 55. All right. So we're going to go to the next number. It doesn't go into 553, all right? But it will go into 5,530 2 times because there's the math right there exactly. 5,530 minus 5,530 is 0. We're going to bring that other 0 down right here. That 2,765 doesn't go into that 0, so we make sure we put that 0 in that empty space right here and then multiply it down to find out. I mean, obviously, we don't have a remainder because it was 0. So, all right, your final answer was 20. All right, there you go, just like that. And again, if you had one of these as negative, 553 divided by 27.65, if, pretend this one was negative, then your answer was going to be negative. It would be a negative 20, all right? If both of them were negative, all right, you've got division of negative numbers. You have a negative divided by a negative would be a positive. So you'd have a positive quotient just like that. So just remember all that. All right. These next problems, all right, are just going to be a you try section, all right? You're going to be able to try these. So this is really the end of the lesson. I've taught you all the different rules and things like that for adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing decimals, numbers with decimals. Now we have 8 different problems. So you're welcome to stick around and try these 8 problems. But again, I'm going to kind of go pretty quickly through these. Once I get to a problem, hit pause, try it yourself, and then come back and get the answer. All right, we've got 5.2 minus 0.76. All right, so I'm going to line up my decimals. I'm going to put the number that I'm subtracting on top and the number taking out of it on bottom. I fill in the empty space with a 0. All right, that 0 I'm going to have to borrow from the next number in. 10 minus 6 is 4. All right, I'm going to have to borrow from that 5, make that 11. The 5 will become 4. 11 minus 7 is 4. Carry down our decimal just like that. 4 minus 4, 0 is 4. So we have a final answer of 4.44. All right? All right, let's try the next one, which is 2.3 plus negative 8.89. All right, just like that. All right. Now I see a negative here and a positive, and we're adding those together. So I'm just going to put these on a tug line just like this. And again, you should have paused already to try it yourself. So if you haven't done that, try it yourself. But because I'm adding numbers that are positive and negative, I'm going to use a tug line. Again, I give a more detailed description of this tool in the video of adding and subtracting integers, right? But you can use this tool for even decimals like that. We're going to put 2.3 on the positive side. We're going to put 8.89 on the negative side. And that just helps us know these two numbers are in different teams, all right? So we're not ultimately adding these numbers. We're going to subtract them, all right? 8.89 subtract 2.3, all right? We're going to subtract those numbers, and then we're going to keep the sign of the larger number just like that, all right? So make sure you pay attention to that when you're adding numbers that are positive and negative. They're on different teams, which means you're really subtracting them and then keeping the sign of the larger number. And if you have a habit of forgetting that, then put them on a tug line, all right? That's going to help you start remembering that those numbers are in different teams, and so they get a little bit different treatment, all right? All right, now we got another problem. We have a negative 0.336 divided by negative 1.6. Go ahead and pause the video. Try to do it yourself, and then come back. All right, dog's going to scoot one step to the door. So kitty cat will scoot along the floor one step and then up to the top of the house right there. So we can take the decimals away now. Move it right there. All right, now I have... maybe I want to address this situation first before I ever get into the numbers. All right, I've got a negative divided by a negative, which is going to give me a positive quotient. All right, so I'm just going to put that plus up there. Ultimately, I'm going to erase that later. That just helps me know I've addressed the situation of a negative divided by a negative already. I'm going to have a positive quotient. All right, now that we're going to go in. 16 will not go into 0. All right, so there's a 0 right there. We could put an X in that space. 16 will not go into 0, 3. All right, that's just 3. So we can put an X in that space, or we could put a 0 there, all right, because we know we're going into the decimals. All right, now 16 into 33. All right, we'll go 2 times, because 2 times 16 is 32. 33 minus 32 is 1. We're going to bring down our 6 just like that. We have 16 into 16 goes 1 time, because 1 times 16 is 16, and 16 minus 16 is 0. So we have no more remainders. We have nothing else left. So we know our final answer is going to be a positive 0.21. All right, I can erase all that other stuff right there. That's my answer. All right, good job. All right, next problem. 2.7 times negative 4.21, all right? So again, I'm going to take these numbers, and because I don't have to line them up with a decimal, I'm just multiplying the number. I'm going to take the 3-digit number, put it on top, and I'm going to take the 2-digit number and put it on bottom. And I'm not going to forget the fact that that top number was negative. And I can address this from the very beginning if I want to, all right? I've got a negative times a positive. So I have a negative times a positive. My answer is going to be negative. So I'm going to put that down here because I know my answer is going to be negative. So I'm going to address that situation now. 7 times 1. Now I'm doing the multiplication like normal, okay? Starting with this first number on the right side. 7 times 1 is 7. 7 times 2 is 14, so I'm going to carry my 1. 7 times 4 is 28. Plus 1 is 29. Second number in, I'm going to multiply, so I'm going to put a 0 in the first slot so I can start my answer in the second spot in, or second place value in. 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 8 is, I do that all the time, 2 times 4 is 8. All right, my brain's working faster than my mouth. All right, 7 minus 0, not minus, plus. All right, 7 plus 0 is 7. 4 plus 2 is 6. 9 plus 4 is 13, so carry my 1. 8 plus 2 plus 1 is 11, just like that. All right, and now because it's multiplication of numbers with decimals, I just did all the multiplication first of the numbers, and then I'm going to count how many numbers are behind the decimal inside the factors. There's 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to take that decimal and move it 3 spaces in. So my answer is going to be negative 11.367. All right, and again, it's negative because we have a negative times a positive, and you can use that positive, negative triangle to help you determine the sign of the product. All right, for the sake of time, I've got a class coming in right now, so let's just do this last one because you do have a subtraction of a negative, all right, and then we'll be done with this one. All right, so you can pause the video and you can try this. All right. You should recognize here that we have subtraction and negatives in the same problem. Okay, so we can apply keep. We're going to keep the first number the same, change the subtraction to addition, and make the next number its opposite. All right. The reason why we want to do that is we want to make this problem that has subtraction of negatives a friendly problem. All right, so that we don't just see 9.65 minus 3.9. We see it for what it really is. The subtract negative. That subtract is going to influence that sign to be positive. So it's really, you have a double negative, it's really a positive. All right, so you've got 9.65 plus 3.9. We're going to line them up by the decimal because we're adding the decimals. All right, and we're going to fill in the empty space with a 0, and then we can just simply add up the numbers. All right, just like that. So we're going to come up with our final answer of 13.55. All right. All right, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. If you have any questions, you can put those questions down in the comments down below. I also encourage you to hit the subscribe button, all right? This is for 7th grade math, but I also help out a lot with 6th grade math because 7th grade math is really just building on everything you learned in 6th grade. So if you're in 6th grade, these videos will help you as well, all right? So hit the subscribe button down below, click the bell for notifications, hit the like button, and share it with your fellow students, all right? I hope you'll have a great day, and be safe. We'll talk to you soon. See you next time. Bye-bye.